NaNoWriMo 2022. Hello, this is Gavin Glen with a special vlog that I want to talk about my experience as a first-time participant in National Novel Writing Month of 2022. That just happened this past November. So instead of doing the Camp NaNoWriMo, which goes on in either April or July, as far as I can tell from following Kate Kavanagh. Kate Kavanagh is this writer on YouTube that puts together these vlogs about like writing routines, experiments. So she has yet to have fantasy and sci-fi novels to be published. I just happen to have one novel to be published, which is a memoir that occurred in 2018 when I lived out in Gordon, and it's entitled The Extroverted Hermit Life of Gordon, which I am not so sure about self-publishing because I felt like it's more of a gamble, and it's in the more of the success for the established writers. I actually got myself a head start into NaNoWriMo because my current project I was into started at 6,147 words. Then November 1st came along. Now, I don't know if that was considered cheating or just a head start, but it was a seed yet to be grown into a tree of an idea, and its branches were its chapters.
Make your pictures dance.
You don't have to worry about that ad. It didn't occur to me to update my word count every day, but it turns out on the NaNoWriMo website that there are badges to be earned, and it also includes of updating your word count 2 to 5 days in a row, which I flew that past my head. Since I live in Superior, Wisconsin, I joined the discussion group that represents Northern WI, ran by Sama J. Writer. And it was just in case I was able to like get any inspirational insights, or I was able to make it to any Zoom meetings for like any writing sprints, or there's also yoga for writers. But it just never worked out in my schedule. I work overnights mostly, so I sleep during the day, and I can only just like stay up from like early afternoon to the late evening, then into my work. But so I really had to like do my writing sprints out of spontaneity while binge watching a movie or TV show. I mean, what could I say? Some habits are just hard to break, along with my Candy Crush and billiards game on my phone. There weren't any famous authors that I was aware of that participated in NaNoWriMo this year, but it occurred to me that I wonder if Kate Kavanagh has ever ran into Jenny Lawson, since they're both writers out of Texas. Jenny Lawson puts up this fantastic blog and book club, and she just is like goes all raw about like the bravery she puts into words on her mental health, her struggles of motherhood, and writing in general, meeting deadlines, working for HR, stuff like that. But she has a bookstore called the Nowhere Bookshop in San Antonio. The first weekend of November, I just happened to take a 4-hour drive down to Alexandria, Minnesota, where there was a writing conference. It was my first conference I ever attended to as a representing board member for the Duluth Poetry Chapter. It was a little hard to be writing any prose, thinking of any prose, other than reading Stephen King's Firestarter that I kept in my Airbnb. But I never thought I was able to write 4 poems out of one day of full of workshops. Had that going for me. So I just figure I take it more in the convenience of my phone to type whenever I'm like away from my laptop or my work computer during my downtime. But if I'm not too dived into my games, I know I just like developed more of the habit of going into my Google Docs to type in, it was like, this quotation might work with this character. I remember where I left off in this story. I know where I'm going here. So I know that works. While I was looking through my streaming selections, I saw that there were both adaptations to The Time Traveler's Wife. Both the movie and the miniseries. But then I thought, I better read the book by Audrey Niffenegger first. But like how I abandoned my journal here to save up my writing energy, I tend to like put my reading aside if I get too distracted back on my phone with the games and the streaming on Hulu with the Home Improvement and Friday Night Lights. I mean, what could I say? Tim Allen reminds me of my dad, other than breaking shit. More power. But just nearly 3 weeks apart is my 30th birthday and my dad's 60th birthday. Now, for the reason that I was like binge watching Friday Night Lights, like as I made it to my 10,000 word score badge. I was binge watching that show because I was like in the mix of excitement and nostalgia because my high school football team was actually going state bound and they just happened to win state eventually, spoiler alert, on December 5th. I mean, December 3rd that they won 26-23. But beside the point, I binge watched Friday Night Lights to get in this sports drama vibe that I wanted into my book, since my novel was about roller derby. Two other times that I felt the most motivated writing was when I was at this coffee house, Empire Coffee in Superior, Wisconsin. So here I was working on my book, The Delinquents of Diane is the title, and I made it to 15,000 words. And I went to that coffee place because I had a punch card too. With 2 visits away, I could have a free cup of coffee. But it doesn't include tea orders, though. I mean, if I wasn't so busy writing, I would have like gone and protest together with my fellow drinkers and be all, we have a wider selection here to get away from this noisy espresso machine you got there, and we demand our service. Punch our cards. Punch our cards. But after some time that I made it to my 20,000 word badge, I also got my 1,667 word a day badge, which is the average that you need to go each day, usually to make it to the 50,000 words. But here's what I get in a little bit of a dilemma. I've been copy and pasting my rejected short stories because as I write more and more, it seems like each chapter I do start seems like a beginning of a short story, since like each chapter is about one character at a time being like a team member of the roller derby team, like having their backstory as one at a time, that I'm just telling it as it is in a particular season of roller derby. And I've also been going through prompt books. I have like 2 or 3 of them, but also NaNoWriMo was able to send like an email of like 101 prompts to work with, as in, what did so and so do last summer, and how does it feel to taste a certain food in a certain way, and where are you at when you taste a certain food, prompts like that. But just to gather even more inspiration, I took a skate around the roller rink world wheels. So then I can ignore myself if I ever turn out to be a... You're out! But I also got a postcard from Sama J of the discussion group in NaNoWriMo of my current area of northern Wisconsin, and here's what she wrote to me in this postcard. Gavin, first, apologies of the lateness of this prep talk. I have no excuse other than life, quote unquote. So I certainly hope that you are heading into week 4 as you are ready to muster into the finish. Because I don't want to alarm you, but according to your stats, you're a bit behind and you haven't updated in a few days. So consider this the kick in the pants that you might be required to get back into your project. There's still a lot of time left in the month to pull out a win and cross that finish line with us, or at the very least put more effort into your project. Personally, I feel that makes you a winner either way. You already have more than you started the month with. Keep going. I believe in you. Sama J, NaNoWriMo 2022. So yeah, that certainly was a kick in the pants. Oh, I'm in trouble. Now, I wouldn't say I have writer's block, but I just like took in a more slower pace in my writing with the music I've been working on to make like a special live stream on Facebook to celebrate my 30th birthday. And I've been doing these studio appointments on Mondays to put together a comedy music album. So I couldn't get into total author tunnel vision. I also been like writing notes on the side of my keyboard, which turns out to be jokes because I'm a stand-up comedian. That's my stronger passion. Take it as it is. I can tell jokes. Had to get out there on the open mics, but there were 2 movies I went to see out in the theater for my birthday. At first, that happened right on my birthday. With my fiance was Ticket to Paradise with Julia Roberts and George Clooney. And it was after my fiance cooked me up some great enchiladas. I mean, thank you, sweetie. Thank you. It means a lot. But a few days later, I got stuck to 28,000 words when my dad brought me out to this movie, Devotion, which is like the second movie I've seen this year that had to do with fighting airplanes in the sky, because back in June we went to see Top Gun Maverick, but with Devotion, it occurred to me with like the first African American fighter pilot that I might have been putting a halt of my novel, because maybe I want to have more diversity with my characters, with like race, careers, gender. You know, this is just like typical millennial banter. Well, fast forward if you want to, take it or leave it. But as a late birthday present, I got this laptop stand with a built-in fan. With this addition to my new office space, I took a crack at it into full power drive into writing, back into it. And I was able to come up with one night of 2,000 words, which landed me into the badge of 30,000 words. Like, it's just one epiphany after another, you know. Woke me up. Woke me up. So basically, if it weren't for the games on my phone, the winterizing my place, like covering the leaks on my roof and my window, and getting stuck in the music tunnel visions with my live stream, the tunnel visions of my stand-up comedy, like, you know, with like the binge watching on Jim Gaffigan and Dead to Me. Like I said earlier, binge watching Friday Night Lights and Home Improvement. I mean, I'm going out to movies to celebrate the big 3-0. And I also been switching up a few shifts in the daytime, other than the overnight shifts a few times with like a coworker in crisis. So that meant getting up in the morning, class in session. No, I'm not really a teacher, but I also had to like take a drive out in Thanksgiving to get my meals for me and the fiance. So yeah, if it weren't for all that chaos, I definitely would have written more. But I didn't. But at least I can say that I was able to do a whole month of writing so that I can say that in 1 month I could get a book started at 31,700 words. So this experience has been an eye-opener to me, and I certainly would do it again with more preparation, as I do have 2 to 3 ideas for a novel that I want to take a look at on research and outlining, and I'd be sure to do this again Anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it with the sound effects, and I'm glad Gavin Glen. You can check me out on more videos with the stand-up comedy and the music, and maybe more talks. I'll come into between me and my camera. Thank you so much. Gavin Glen out.